Have you ever had a moment when you knew exactly what you wanted to say in English, but when you opened your mouth, nothing came out?
Oh, Anna, I think almost every English learner has experienced that.
Right? Maybe you're talking to a foreign coworker. Maybe you're traveling. Maybe you're joining an online meeting, and suddenly your brain freezes. You know the words, you understand the conversation, but speaking feels impossible.
And the strange thing is that many people think they're the only ones who feel that way, but they're not. Not at all.
Exactly. And if you're listening right now and thinking, that's me, don't worry. Today's episode is for you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Anna.
And I'm David.
We're so happy you're here today. Grab a cup of coffee, take a walk, or just relax wherever you are. Today, we're talking about something that almost every English learner dreams about: how to become a confident English speaker in real life.
I love this topic because confidence is something people often misunderstand. Many learners think confidence comes after perfect English.
Oh, yes. They think, when my grammar is perfect, I'll be confident. Or when I know 10,000 words, I'll be confident.
Or my favorite one, when I stop making mistakes, then I'll finally start speaking.
Yes, I've heard that so many times.
The funny thing is that even native speakers make mistakes.
That's true.
Which sometimes I start a sentence and have no idea where it's going.
David, that sounds surprisingly familiar.
Trust me, Anna, it happens more often than I'd like to admit.
You know, that's actually comforting, because when learners imagine confident speakers, they often picture someone who speaks perfectly all the time.
But real-life conversations aren't perfect. People pause, people hesitate, people say people forget words, people laugh at themselves.
And that's what makes conversations human.
Exactly. Confidence isn't about sounding perfect, it's about feeling comfortable enough to keep talking even when things aren't perfect.
That's such an important idea, because I think many learners spend years studying English. They watch videos, they memorize vocabulary, they complete exercises, but when it's time to actually speak, fear takes over.
Fear of making mistakes, fear of sounding silly, fear of being judged.
I know that feeling, and honestly, it can be exhausting. You work so hard, but you still feel nervous every time you speak.
The good news is that confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, little by little, conversation by conversation.
Like riding a bicycle, the first time feels scary. You wobble, you make mistakes, you might even fall.
But imagine if someone said, "I'm going to wait until I'm perfect before I ride a bike."
That would never work.
Exactly. You become better by riding the bike, not by waiting to feel confident first.
And speaking English works the same way. You become confident by speaking, not by waiting to feel confident first.
That's such a powerful idea.
You know, David, I think many listeners needed to hear that today. Maybe someone listening has been studying English for years. Maybe they're afraid to join conversations. Maybe they're waiting for the perfect moment to start speaking.
And maybe that perfect moment never comes.
Exactly. Sometimes the first step isn't speaking perfectly, it's simply speaking.
Even one sentence.
Even one sentence.
Because every confident English speaker started somewhere. Nobody began as a confident speaker. Nobody.
That's so true. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about what confidence really means, why so many learners struggle with it, and what practical things you can do to become more comfortable speaking English in real life.
And some of the answers might surprise you, because confidence isn't always built in the way people expect. Not at all.
Speaking of that, David, this conversation reminds me of a time when I was absolutely terrified to speak English in front of other people.
Really? Now I'm curious.
Oh, trust me, it wasn't my finest moment. But what happened taught me a lesson I'll never forget, and that's where things became really interesting. You know, David, when I think back to that moment, I can still remember how nervous I felt.
Now you really have to tell us the story, Anna.
All right. A few years ago, I attended an international event. There were people from different countries, and everyone was speaking English. At first, I felt excited. I thought, this is a great opportunity to practice. But when someone actually started talking to me, everything changed.
Uh-oh. I think I know where this is going.
Exactly. A woman walked up to me and asked a simple question, something like, "Where are you from?" And suddenly my mind went completely blank.
Even though you knew the answer?
Of course I knew the answer. I've known where I'm from my entire life.
That's the funny thing about nervousness. It makes easy things feel difficult.
Exactly. I started thinking too much. Was my grammar correct? Was my pronunciation okay? What if she didn't understand me? What if I sounded strange? And while I was thinking about all those things, I wasn't actually speaking.
I think a lot of listeners can relate to that. Sometimes we're so busy trying to be perfect that we forget to communicate.
That's exactly what happened. Eventually, I answered her question, and do you know what happened?
What?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. She smiled, she understood me, and the conversation continued.
That's such an important lesson. The disaster we imagine in our heads usually never happens.
Yes, most people aren't waiting for us to make mistakes. They're simply trying to have a conversation.
That's so true, Anna. And your story reminds me of something that happened to me.
Really?
Oh, yes. When I was learning another language, I decided to practice with native speakers online. I was feeling confident before the conversation started. I had prepared questions, I had reviewed vocabulary. I thought I was ready.
That sounds promising.
Well, for about 2 minutes.
What happened?
The other person spoke much faster than I expected. I understood maybe half of what they were saying. The rest sounded like one very long word.
Oh, I've been there.
I remember smiling and nodding while secretly hoping they wouldn't ask me another question.
That's actually hilarious.
It wasn't hilarious at the time. I was sweating.
I can imagine.
But then something interesting happened. Instead of pretending to understand everything, I said, "Sorry, could you speak a little slower?"
And?
They smiled and said, "Of course." That was it. No judgment, no criticism, no problem at all.
Wow. Sometimes one simple sentence can change everything.
Exactly. That experience taught me that communication isn't about knowing every word. It's about being willing to participate.
I love that. Being willing to participate.
Because real conversations are messy. People ask questions, people misunderstand things, people ask for clarification. That's completely normal.
You know, many learners believe confident speakers never feel nervous, but that's not true.
Not at all. Even confident people feel nervous sometimes. The difference is they keep talking anyway.
That's such a powerful point. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's taking action despite fear.
Exactly. And every small conversation helps. Every mistake teaches something. Every awkward moment becomes a learning experience.
When I look back now, I'm actually grateful for those uncomfortable moments.
Me too, because they helped us grow.
And maybe some of our listeners are experiencing those moments right now. Maybe they're nervous before speaking English. Maybe they're afraid of making mistakes. Maybe they're wondering if they'll ever feel confident.
If that's you, don't give up. You're probably much closer to confidence than you realize.
Because confidence doesn't suddenly appear one morning. It grows, little by little, through experience.
And what changed everything for me was realizing that confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you build.
That's such a powerful thought, David. Confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. And honestly, I wish I had understood that much earlier.
Me too. For a long time, I thought confidence was some special quality that certain people were born with. You know, those people who can walk into a room and start talking to anyone.
Oh yes, the people who seem completely comfortable in every situation.
Exactly. I used to look at them and think, wow, they're naturally confident. But later I realized something. Most of those people weren't born confident. They became confident through practice.
That's such an important difference.
It really is. And I think learning English works the same way. People often see a fluent speaker and assume that speaking English is easy for them, but they don't see all the practice behind it.
That's true. They don't see the mistakes. They don't see the embarrassing moments. They don't see the years of effort.
Exactly. It's a little like going to the gym.
I love that comparison.
Imagine someone walking into a gym for the first time. They're probably not going to lift the heaviest weights.
Definitely not.
They start small. Maybe they struggle. Maybe their muscles feel weak. But if they keep showing up, they gradually become stronger.
And confidence is like a muscle.
Exactly, Anna. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. The less you use it, the weaker it feels.
That's such a helpful way to think about it, because many learners are waiting to feel confident before speaking, but confidence grows because of speaking.
Not before it, because of it.
You know, another metaphor comes to mind.
Let's hear it.
Learning English is a little like planting a tree.
I like where this is going.
When you plant a tree, you don't expect it to become tall overnight. You water it, you take care of it, you wait, and little by little, it grows.
That's exactly how language learning works. One conversation, one new word, one small improvement at a time.
But sometimes learners become frustrated because progress feels slow.
That's very common, especially when they compare themselves to others.
Oh, comparison can be dangerous.
Absolutely. Someone else might have started learning English 5 years earlier, or maybe they have more opportunities to practice, or maybe they simply have a different learning journey.
That's why comparing yourself to others usually isn't helpful.
A better question is, am I improving compared to the person I was last month?
I love that, because real progress is personal.
Exactly. And here's another thing most people don't realize. Confidence often comes after action, not before it.
That's so true. Can you explain that a little more?
Of course. Many people think the process looks like this. First, I become confident, then I start speaking.
But that's not how it works.
Not usually. In reality, it often looks like this. First, you speak. Then you survive the experience. Then you realize it wasn't so bad. And slowly, confidence begins to grow.
Wow, that reminds me of so many experiences in life.
Me too. Whether it's learning a language, making new friends, or starting a new job, action often comes before confidence.
And every time you take action, you're teaching your brain something important.
What's that?
You're teaching your brain that speaking English is safe, that making mistakes is normal, and that communication is possible even when you're not perfect.
That's a wonderful way to put it.
So if you're listening right now, remember this. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need a perfect accent. You don't need to know every word.
You just need the courage to keep going.
One sentence at a time.
One conversation at a time.
One small step at a time.
And that brings us to an important question. If confidence can be built, then how exactly do we build it?
That's a great question, because understanding confidence is one thing, actually building it is another.
And fortunately, there are some simple things anyone can start doing today.
Nothing complicated, nothing overwhelming, just practical habits that can make a real difference.
So, what can listeners actually do about this?
That's the big question, isn't it? We all want to feel more confident speaking English, but sometimes we don't know where to start.
Exactly. And the good news is that confidence isn't built through one huge action. It's usually built through many small actions.
I love that, because small actions feel possible.
Right. If I told someone to go give a speech in front of 1,000 people tomorrow, they'd probably run away.
I might run away too, David.
See? Even after all these years, public speaking can still feel scary.
That's actually comforting to hear.
But if I said, have a 2-minute conversation with someone today, that feels much more manageable.
Definitely. That's why my first tip is simple. Start speaking before you feel ready.
That's a good one, because honestly, many people spend months preparing to speak. Some spend years preparing.
And preparation is important, but at some point you have to jump into the water.
Exactly. Imagine someone reading books about swimming for 5 years.
They'd know everything about swimming
But the moment they touched the water, they'd still feel nervous.
because reading about swimming isn't swimming.
And studying English isn't the same as speaking English.
That's such a good point. So if you're listening right now, challenge yourself. Speak a little today, even if it's only one sentence, even if it feels uncomfortable.
I completely agree. Now here's another tip that changed a lot for me. Focus on communication, not perfection.
Oh, that's a big one.
I remember a conversation I had years ago. I made several grammar mistakes, several.
How many are we talking about?
Let's just say enough to keep a grammar teacher busy for a week.
That's quite a few.
But the conversation was successful. We understood each other. We laughed. We exchanged ideas. And that's what communication is all about.
Exactly. Most people care more about understanding you than judging you.
And honestly, when someone speaks a second language, I usually admire them.
Me too, because I know how much courage it takes.
So don't let perfection stop you from communicating.
Here's another practical tip. Talk to yourself in English.
I love this one. And before anyone thinks it's strange,
Yes, let's explain before everyone gets worried.
talking to yourself is actually great practice. You can describe your day, talk about your plans, or explain what you're doing.
Sometimes I do it while cooking. I'll say things like, now I'm cutting the vegetables. Now I'm making dinner.
I do something similar when I'm driving, and occasionally I realize someone can see me talking to myself.
And then what?
Then I pretend I'm having a very important conversation.
That's hilarious.
The point is that speaking English doesn't always require another person. You can create opportunities every day.
Exactly. And every minute of speaking practice helps.
Now here's another tip that changed a lot for me. Celebrate small wins.
Oh, I love that. Because learners often focus only on what's missing.
Yes, they'll say things like, I made 3 mistakes today, but they forget that they successfully had a 10-minute conversation.
That's so true. We're often harder on ourselves than anyone else.
Imagine a friend learning English. Would you criticize them for every mistake?
Of course not. I'd encourage them.
Then why not encourage yourself too?
That's a beautiful question.
Because confidence grows when we recognize our progress, not just our problems.
And here's one final tip. Keep showing up.
Simple, but powerful.
Some days you'll feel confident. Some days you'll feel nervous. Some conversations will go well. Some won't.
That's normal. That's part of the journey.
What matters is that you continue. You keep speaking. You keep learning. You keep trying.
And one day you'll look back and realize something amazing.
What's that?
The things that once scared you now feel completely normal.
I love that. And I hope our listeners remember that confidence isn't a destination, it's a journey.
A journey built through small daily actions.
And speaking of small daily actions, we've used some really useful words and expressions throughout today's conversation.
That's true. Why don't we review some of them together?
Great idea. And while we're doing that, we'll also leave our listeners with a little motivation to keep moving forward. That sounds perfect, David. Let's take a moment to review some useful words and phrases from today's conversation.
Great idea. And don't worry if you don't remember every word. The goal is to notice them and hear them used naturally.
Exactly. Let's start with our first word. Word. Confidence. Meaning, the feeling that you can do something successfully. Example sentence. I'm gaining more confidence every time I speak English.
That's a very important word for today's topic. And remember, confidence grows through practice.
Absolutely. Now let's look at the second word. Word. Nervous. Meaning, feeling worried or anxious about something. Example sentence. I felt nervous before speaking English in the meeting.
And if you're nervous sometimes, that's completely normal.
Even confident people feel nervous occasionally.
That's so true. All right, here's our third word. Mistake, meaning something you do incorrectly. Example sentence. Making mistakes is a natural part of learning.
I think that's one of the most important lessons today. Mistakes are not evidence of failure. They're evidence that you're trying.
I love that, David. Let's continue. Word. Practice, meaning doing something regularly to improve. Example sentence. I practice speaking English for 15 minutes every day.
A little practice every day is often better than a lot of practice once a month.
Exactly. Consistency matters. Now let's look at another useful word. Word, courage, meaning the ability to do something even when you're afraid. Example sentence. It took courage to start the conversation.
That's one of my favorite words because confidence often starts with courage.
Beautifully said. Next word. Progress, meaning improvement over time. Example sentence. I can see my progress when I compare myself to last year.
And progress isn't always obvious day by day. Sometimes you only notice it when you look back.
That's very true. And here's our final phrase. Phrase. Keep going, meaning continue even when something feels difficult. Example sentence. I made a few mistakes, but I'll keep going.
That's a phrase every English learner should remember.
Definitely. Now, before we finish today's episode, I'd like to talk directly to everyone listening.
Me too.
Maybe you've been learning English for a few months, maybe for a few years, maybe even longer, and maybe sometimes you feel frustrated.
Maybe you've had moments where you wanted to give up.
Maybe you've compared yourself to other learners. Maybe you've thought, my English isn't good enough.
If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone.
Not at all. Every learner experiences difficult moments. Every learner feels discouraged sometimes.
But here's something important to remember. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is communication.
And every time you listen to English, every time you learn a new word, every time you try to speak, you're moving forward.
Even when progress feels slow.
Especially when progress feels slow, because that's when many people quit. But you're still here. You're still learning. You're still improving.
And that's something to be proud of.
You know, David, I think people often underestimate how powerful small steps can be.
I agree. Small steps may seem unimportant today, but over time they create incredible results.
Just like planting a tree.
Exactly. You water it a little every day, and one day you realize how much it has grown.
So, if you're listening right now, please be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, and keep going.
Because your future self will thank you.
Now we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, let's make this conversation a little bigger.
Here's our first question. What is your biggest challenge when speaking English?
Second question. Have you ever had a funny or embarrassing English-speaking moment?
And one more. What English skill are you focusing on this week?
Listening? Speaking? Vocabulary? Pronunciation? Let us know in the comments.
We always enjoy reading your stories.
And speaking of speaking practice,
Let's finish today's episode with something practical.
a short shadowing exercise.
Perfect. This is a great way to improve pronunciation, rhythm, and speaking confidence.
So get ready, listen carefully, and repeat after us.
Let's begin. Now let's do a short shadowing practice together.
Great. Listen first, then repeat after us. Sentence 1. I understand English, but speaking still feels difficult.
Sentence 2. Sometimes I feel nervous when I speak English.
Sentence 3. I don't need perfect English to start a conversation.
Sentence 4. Confidence grows when I practice a little every day.
Sentence 5. Making mistakes helps me become a better speaker.
Sentence 6.
I choose progress over perfection every single day.
Sentence 7. Today I will speak English even if I'm nervous.
Sentence 8. Every conversation helps me become more confident.
Sentence 9. I can improve my English one step at a time.
Sentence 10. My confidence grows every time I keep going.
Excellent job.
If you repeated all 10 sentences, you're already improving your English.
Remember, confidence comes from practice, not perfection.
Every small step counts.
And that's a wonderful place to end today's episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Whether you were listening at home, on a walk, in your car, or during a break at work, we're really glad you joined us today.
And remember, becoming a confident English speaker doesn't happen overnight.
It happens one conversation at a time,
One mistake at a time.
one brave moment at a time.
So don't wait until you feel completely ready.
Start where you are, use what you know, and trust the process.
You are learning, you are improving, and you're doing better than you think.
And if today's episode encouraged you, we'd love for you to join us again next time.
We'll have another relaxing English conversation, more useful vocabulary, and more speaking practice waiting for you.
Until then, keep listening.
Keep practicing.
Keep believing in yourself.
Take care, everyone.
See you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye and happy learning.